All right, we are back here on the podcast, getting ready for the baseball season here, continuing our tradition of doing the over-under picks for win totals here. Joining me today, as always, our great legal correspondent and Yankee enthusiast, Phil Fraietta is here. Phil, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
Doing pretty good. And I gotta say, this baseball season kind of crept up on me here at the NCAA tournament, all this stuff, and it's crazy now that we are recording before the Dodgers Padres series in Korea, so technically opening day is Thursday, but for most of us, it's next week.
Yeah, even next week though is pretty early to start the season. Normally you start in April, so it's exciting though. I'm ready, and I'm excited to be back for the over/under picks. Last year was not my best year, but I'm hoping to improve on that.
I think we had a draw last year, if I remember correctly.
Well, I think we did, but I also picked the under on the Texas Rangers, and they went on to win the World Series. So
I took the over on the Mets, and we remember what happened there.
yeah, well, that's true, but taking the under on the team that wins the World Series is rough.
Yeah, I also will say here, I hope that I know people on the YouTube version see that I have the City Field backed up here. I'll be at City Field next Thursday for opening day. I'm hoping to get a nice weather day. It's not like 40 degrees at first pitch.
Oh yeah, that's great. I'm hoping to get to Yankee Stadium in April, but I like to wait till the end of April. It's too cold at the beginning.
Yeah, it's I have a 20 game plan with the Mets. They got a lot of April games. We're gonna definitely slide one back to get us another summer spot.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to. It's too cold.
yeah. Here. So as is always here, a couple of notes here on the offseason here. It's very strange offseason because the Dodgers bought everybody and everybody else kind of just waited to see what happened here. I mean, we're as time of recording on March 18th, the reigning Cy Young winner, one of the best pitchers in the World Series, a top DH, are all unsigned, which is just crazy how this offseason's gone.
Yeah, even Bellinger hung around until last week or so. On some other pod, we're gonna have to do a Scott Boras still a good agent talk because this has been going on for a while now, where his clients just kind of linger out there well into spring training, and maybe he's doing something wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe Blake Snell was starting to regret turning down the money the Yankees offered him.
If that offer is true, yeah, I would think so. But pretty crazy where we are, and off season wise, you're right. The Dodgers they just threw money around to get whoever they wanted to get. Good for them. The Yankees obviously made the splash with Soto. You can't overlook that. It seems like forever ago that they got him now because they got him relatively early in the offseason, but they did bring in one of the top left-handed bats in all the sport.
I know this is a trend with the Yankees of late where they make that one big FU move, say, hey, we're the Yankees. Here's a great player. And then they kind of don't do much after that.
Yeah, they don't go for the kill. They tell you they're going to, that we have a lot left, and then for one reason or another they don't. Overall, I like the offseason that the Yankees had. I think they made some nice pickups. I think Verdugo's a nice player who fits in well. I think Grisham coming over with the Soto trade, Grisham will get a lot of play, and I think he's a good backup outfielder. But yeah, I would have liked to see somebody come along with Soto. To be fair to the Yankees, I think they made a real effort for Yamamoto. They lost that one on geography.
Yeah, I think Yamamoto, I think, was a real effort for both of the New York teams. I think geography he was always going to be a Dodger the way I read it here. But I feel like Snell, I'm surprised they didn't push harder.
Yeah, I'm surprised with Snell too, but who knows? For all we know, Snell could be a Yankee by the time we finish recording.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
still out there, so who knows?
Yeah. And how long he's got there, you're not going to see him until May 1st at the earliest.
Agreed. You're not seeing him in April, and honestly, what I'd be worried about with Snell and Montgomery at this point is it's one thing to work out in the gym. It's another thing to get real spring training reps. And you just hope those guys don't try and rush back and suffer some sort of an arm injury.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's get into our over-under picks here. So what we're going to do here, as always, three overs, three unders. These totals are based on DraftKings as of March 18th. And we're going to alternate picks here. Phil, as the guest, you can choose. Do you want the first pick or the second and third picks? And I'll just alternate after that.
I'll take the second and third, but I have a question for you before we start.
Sure.
And I don't know if you've checked. Did the Yankee number change at all based on the Garrett Cole news?
Last I have is, and DraftKings has at 91.5. I don't know what it was before that.
Yeah, neither do I. I wonder what kind of effect Garrett Cole had on that number.
I feel like it must have gone down a little bit.
It would have had to, yeah. But
Because I remember last year
not,
when Edwin Diaz got hurt for the Mets, they think they dropped the number by 2 wins. I remember correctly.
yeah, I'm sure it went down. Knock on wood, though. The Yankees seem like they dodged a bullet with Garrett Cole. I think that's the best news you could have hoped for when you hear your pitchers going for an MRI in the elbow.
Yeah, you hope that like if everything goes according to plan, June 1st, he's on the mound at Yankee Stadium.
That's a huge win if that happens.
Yep. All right. So I had the first pick here. So I'm gonna go with one that I love on the over side here. I'm gonna take the Baltimore Orioles over 90.5 as my first pick of the draft here. And I think I like what they did here, going for the kill with Corbin Burns. I think they need an ace. They got one. They have so much talent on this roster here. I think they're a little underrated here. Yes, they won over 100 games last year. It's going to be a decline, but I think a 10-win drop with ascending talent and Corbin Burns is too much. So I'll take the over on the Orioles.
I love that pick. And I say this, I got the Yankee Stadium background on here for the YouTube visitors or viewers rather. I don't think it's right that the Yankees are favored in that division. I think Baltimore is the team to beat until they prove otherwise. They have a really good young core, and Corbin Burns is exactly what they needed. He's one of the last true workhorses in the MLB. Guy who could have given me 200 innings and stabilize that rotation. I like Baltimore a lot.
Plus, I mean, they have so many young guys, whether it's Adley, whether it's Gunnar Henderson. They have more coming with Colton Cowser, Jackson Holloway's on his way, Kerstad. There's like everywhere you look, they have like a young, like top 100 kid ready to take a position.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of their young kids yet. They're on the way, and they've got some other guys in that lineup who have been there now for a few years who are still good players. Mullins is a good player.
Yes.
I think they're ready to take a step. I think they took that step last year. They just kind of ran out of gas. But I would be scared of Baltimore. To me, that's the Yankees' biggest competition in that division.
I think they're in the American League. That's my pick beginning of the year. Is the Orioles.
Yeah, I could see it. Could definitely see them winning the American League this year. And remember, they have players like Santander, Mountcastle. These guys are quality hitters.
They're loaded,
and they're only going to get better.
Yep.
So I agree.
All right, so you're up now for your first year 2 picks. Where are you going here with your first pick of the draft?
I'm going to do something that I can't remember if I did this last year, but if I didn't, I should have. I'm just going over with the Astros. I'm going to be over on the Houston Astros until they don't hit the over. So I got the Astros number at 93.5 over. That team is always over the number. I'm just going to continue to bet it until they prove me wrong.
Yeah, it's always a logical bet because they seem to always find their way there. They would worry, though, is the pitching injuries. I bet they're flirting with Snell right now because the Verlander is starting the year on the shelf. I know Urquidy got hurt in a spring training game. That's the only concern I'd have.
I would worry about it too, but then again, they're the Astros. They'll find somebody else who will come out of nowhere and give you solid 150 innings. Until that team proves that they're going to fall off, because this has been going on now for how many years in a row? They lost Springer, they lost Cole, they lost Correa. It doesn't matter. It's just plug and play with those guys.
Yep.
So give me the Astros in the over.
All right, so you got that one on the board. We're going with your next pick.
Next pick, I am going to go with an under. I don't know how the Red Sox number 77.5. I don't understand it. To me, the Red Sox are one of, if not the worst teams in the American League. They have nothing. They've got Rafael Devers, and that's about it. I don't see where the wins are coming from.
Yeah, in that division, which is a brutal division, they're clearly 5 out of 5. And like the full throttle offseason turned into Lucas Giolito, who's basically out for the season, and like a couple of random guys along the fringes here. I know they're still linked to Montgomery. Either game, I don't think that's enough to clear the number.
Right. I mean, they won 78 games last year. So the number's 77.5. So I get it. I would lose last year, but I think they're worse.
Yeah, they are
I
worse.
think they're worse than they were last year. So, and I think the Yankees are better. And I think Baltimore is just as good. So yeah, I don't see it. I don't see them winning that 77.5. Give me the under on the Red Sox.
All right, so that's the first on the board. I would have gone there if you hadn't taken it. So I'm going to go now with my next pick here. I'm going to continue the American League East trend here. I'm taking the Rays over 84.5. I feel like now everybody wants to, say, oh, the Yankees, the Orioles. Tampa's number here is very low. I know they traded away Glass now. I know they let some guys walk, but this is Tampa. Sort of like the Astros on that track record of wherever they put there, they're going to find a way. And I feel like this is a low number. I feel like they're going to be right around 90 wins. They're going to be right in the hunt for a wild card. They always find a way to develop pitching, and they got some guys who have some potential this year. I always stack them on Rays in my fantasy baseball league, and I know they find ways to develop pitching gems here. Over 84.5 feels like a lock for Tampa.
Tampa, like you said, I put them in that Astros category. Until they prove me wrong, they will be over. So I agree with that. I don't care who they bring out there. They find a way to find players, and the list goes on and on with them and the guys they've lost over the years, and it hasn't mattered at all. So I agree with that.
All right. You're up on the board now. You've done one over and one under. Where are you going next?
I'll give you another over. Give me the Detroit Tigers in the 80.5. The Tigers came on really strong at the end of last year. They got the 78 wins. They have a lot of good young hitters in that lineup. And last year, they were just absolutely decimated by injury in the starting rotation. So I think if they can get some of those starting pitchers back and healthy, some of the young kids, I could see a low 80s or even mid 80s year from the Tigers. So give me the Tigers in the over.
It's a solid value by the Tigers. Obviously, they got an emerging ace in Tarek Skubal here. They did bring in Maeda and Jack Flaherty for rotation depth, which I think helps here. And they have a lot of promise here, some of these young hitters. And like the division's weak. So, like, if somebody's second place, why not them?
Yeah. And if you look up and down that lineup, I think you'll be surprised. They have a lot of quality young hitters around Riley Green.
Yeah. They do. I mean, Spencer Torkelson had a big year. I know they gave Colt Keith that contract for third base. I feel like he's going to be up sooner than later. Like, I think it's a good spot for them.
Yeah. So give me the Tigers in the over.
All right. I'm going to go with my first under here. This is another team here that did nothing in the offseason. I'm going under 60.5 on the Rockies. I know the number is very low, but this team did nothing. And they're in a brutal division. They're in a brutal National League. They're running well behind these teams. And they lost 100 games the first time last year. I don't see where they're getting better. They don't have a lot of prospects on the fringe. They didn't really add a ton of guys. They did nothing, and it's only got harder. So I think expecting, unless you think Chris Bryant is turning back the time machine in 2016, I think this is going to be a very easy under.
I agree that they're pretty bad. They're really bad. I just, a number that low scares me, because it's easy for a bad team to win 62 or even 63 games or something like that, and then you lose. So I don't hate it. That number is so low.
Yeah, for me, that's the reason I didn't go near Oakland, because their number is 56.5, I believe. Like that, I can't go near. They're basically saying, oh, you're guaranteed 105 losses, where like if they go 100 losses, that's an improvement. Here, I think like this is basically saying this is exactly where they were last year. I don't think they're improving.
Yeah, I see it. I wouldn't touch it, but I get the rationale.
All right, so you're up now. You've done 2 overs and 1 under. Where are you going next?
I'm gonna go to the American League West. Give me an under on the Seattle Mariners. Mariners are at 87.5. I think it's a fair number, but I haven't seen Seattle make that jump over the past couple of years. They've hovered around 90 wins. And until I see it with the Rangers and the Astros in that division, I could see a disappointing low 80s finish for Seattle.
Yeah, I think the Poto's comments the other how we have to try and maintain a 540 winning percentage over 10 years, give ourselves the most chance to contend for a World Series plays in your favor there because like the team's built is great pitching wise, but like they don't have a ton of hitting beyond their big three guys.
Right. And I get what they're trying to do. They're just trying to sneak in and see if they can have a run. And it might happen. Texas and Houston are both great, and I think they're going to have a hard time competing with those guys.
Yeah,
Now they make up some wins by getting Oakland and even the Angels, but still, it's a tough one. But I'm going with the under. I don't think it'll be a big under. I think it's a good number, but I'm going with the under.
yeah, but they feel sort of now like the mid 2010s Mets were, where it's like if they get to the playoffs, they're scary with their pitching that they have, but like the issue is them stacking the regular season wins to get into the playoffs, even with this expanded
Right.
form.
I agree.
All right, so I'm up now. I still have to do 2 unders and 1 over here. So I'm gonna go back to the underwell here. And this is one where I'm just taking it because the number is just absurd. I'm going under 103.5 on the Dodgers. Because I mean, I know this is a super team. I know that when things go well, that they can be ridiculous here, but this is a lot of wins to be asking on the board. If they win 101 games, that's a loss that's a win for me. So I think considering you don't know what Yamamoto is going to do coming over to America, there's an adjustment period here. Remember, Kodai Senga last year had some issues when he first showed up. He had to adjust to the baseball and the league and the culture. You have a lot of injury-prone pitchers. They have issues now on defense. They put Mookie Betts at shortstop. I think they still easily win the National League West, but I think asking for 105 win juggernaut is a lot. So I'll take the under and play the odds.
Yeah, I could see it. As the Japanese pitcher thing is interesting because if you think back over the years, almost every single guy who's come over has struggled out of the gate, with the exception of Tanaka, who was just fantastic out of the gate before the injury. But as I think through it, Hideo Nomo, but that's years ago now. But everybody else who came over did have that struggle at the beginning, that adjustment to the ball and the pitching every 5 days. I have no reason to believe Yamamoto won't be able to make the adjustment, but with a number that big, if it takes him 6 weeks to make the adjustment, you're already probably going to hit the under.
Yeah. Plus, I don't love the fact they have so many pitching injuries already. I know they have depth, but like they're relying on like James Paxton to make a lot of starts, and that's something that could cost them early on.
And not happening. If there's a over-under on James Paxton starts, I'm taking the under.
Yeah. All right. So you have 1 over, 1 under left. What are you doing next?
So always gets tough when you get here. On the over side, let me go over. Real tough. You know what? I'm going to do it just for fun. Give me over on the Yankees in the 91.5. It's a kind of pick with the heart, but if this team as currently assembled can't win 92 games, then I don't know what's next. Then it's fire everybody and just burn it to the ground. But if you've got Aaron Judge and Juan Soto in a lineup, and you get those two guys to play 145 games each, you should win 92 games by those two guys alone. Plus, the Yankee bullpen is just power arm after power arm. And they've got a lot of questions in the rotation, but they do have guys who have proven track records in there. You're getting Cole back. I'm kind of buying this number, hoping that they make another move between now and the season. Maybe it is a Blake Snell, but give me the over on the Yankees.
Yeah, for me, this is a stay away / lean under to me because again, Cole's already hurt. Judge has had his issues on spring training already. His body type and asking to play center field every day is tough. And there's a lot of questions at rotation, whether it's can Nestor bounce back? Is Rodon going to bounce back after the rough year one? What are you going to do in the back end while Cole is out here? I think this is a team that won 82 games last year. And yes, Juan Soto helps and Stroman helps and Verdugo helps. But I don't know if the three of them combining with the Cole injury give you 10 more wins.
The three of them combined with the Cole injury, I don't think give you 10 more wins. Aaron Judge for 150 games plus the three of them combined, I think could give you the 10 more wins.
Yeah.
But that's the same conversation we've been having with the Yankees for 8 years now. If they stay healthy, they'll win games. And I get it. It's a big if because it hasn't happened.
All right, so you're on the board here with your finisher overs here. I will do the same here. I'm going to go over on the Cincinnati Reds at 81.5. I love their collection of young talent here. I think they got a great shot to the National League Central. This team made a surprise run for a wild card last year, fell short in the end. They fortified their pitching a bit with a bunch of depth options here. They have a really well-rounded line of position players that's very exciting here. The NL Central is not really a runaway division for anybody. The Cubs might be the favorite. But I actually like the Reds to win the division here. And I'm getting them basically 82 and 80 gets me the win. I'll take the Reds.
Yeah, that's a fair number for the Reds. Can't hate it. They seem like a 500 team. So
yeah, I'm buying what I saw last year. I think they're going to be good. So I'll take the over.
yeah. All right. And then I'll close us off on my unders. Give me under on the Diamondbacks. I know they're fresh off the World Series appearance. I think that team caught lightning in a bottle. I don't think it's very good. I don't even like their young core that much. I think they don't have a lot of good players in the young core. I know they brought in Erod to try and stabilize the rotation a little bit, but I don't love Arizona. I think San Diego is going to make a little bit of a leap this year. So give me the under on the Diamondbacks. I've got that number at 83.5.
Yeah, it's just funny because they won 84 last year and then got into the playoffs, went to the World Series here. So basically, like, you're not buying that, like, within the offseason good enough.
No, I think they caught lightning in a bottle. Good for them. They had a nice run, but I don't think they're repeating. I think they're an 82, 81 type win team.
Yeah. And also notice here, which is fun, we've covered 4 of the 5 teams in the American League East so far in our picks. I'm gonna make it number.
Well,
I'm gonna get all.
don't make it number 5.
I am making number 5. Taking the under on the Blue Jays at 86.5. I think this team.
I agree.
I think Toronto here. Something is wrong with that core. Like, this group, it consistently finds ways to underachieve. They have what should be good pitching. Vlad Guerrero is backslid. They lost Matt Chapman, which I think is a big loss for them at third base. They brought in Justin Turner, who's not going to be nearly enough to sort of basically get it offensively. The defense is going to be a big downgrade. And they have a lot of guys who are sort of supposed to be better than they are. Like, I think the individuals are better than the whole of the team. I think that also nothing that you worry about Toronto. They have been very healthy on the pitching side for 2 years, which means it feels like regression is due for them on the injury front, which would be bad. So I'm going to take Toronto on the under.
I agree. That's a team that, like you said, something is wrong. It just doesn't click. I don't know why, but they haven't been able to achieve, and they carry themselves as if they've won 5 World Series in a row. It's very odd, and I don't like it. Maybe it's a leadership issue. I don't know what it is, but I agree on the under there with Toronto. Until they could show me otherwise, that just seems like a team with names that can't get it together.
Yeah, there's a lot of big names. A lot of guys you got to take your fantasy draft if you're doing a fantasy baseball system here. But, like, I just, for whatever reason, it just doesn't vibe. They don't seem to win enough games. And, like, they've gotten the playoffs, gotten bounced out in the first round 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's been going on for years with that team.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see if things turn around here, but I don't see it.
All right, so to reset the picks here, Phil has gone with the Astros over 93.5. The Red Sox under 77.5. Detroit over 80.5. The Mariners under 87.5. Yankees over 91.5. Diamondbacks under 83.5. So a pretty solid, like, range of values there for Phil. Like,
mostly in the American League there, but I dabbled in the National League a little bit.
yeah, my picks here: the Orioles over 90.5. The Rays over 84.5. The Rockies under 60.5. The Dodgers under 103.5. Reds over 81.5, and the Blue Jays under 86.5. So those are the picks here. And we'll take a quick note detour into the Mets here because neither of us touched that number 81.5. Like to me, it feels like that's right on the nose. That's why I don't want to touch it because there are scenarios here where I could see them going over this. I can see them going to 75 wins again. So it all depends on what they get out of their pitching staff, and I don't want to be betting my money on that.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me ask you, as a Mets fan, what is your take on what's going on? How much longer is the Steve Cohen honeymoon before you're upset with Steve?
If we're not spending big next offseason, I like the plan this year to sort of, see what we have and he's got kids, see what's going on here. Like they should be able to retain people. Like if they're not like going and getting an ace next offseason, I'm not even counting Soto because I'm not assuming that's going to happen. But like if they go, don't give me an ace and Alonso and sort of make the run to 25 like they told Scherzer, then I'd be disappointed.
Okay, so Steve's got one more season for the honeymoon.
Yeah, because like if Scherzer's to believe that this 25 is their big window here, if they don't give us another offseason like this again, I'd not be happy.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't really understand what they did this offseason. It confused me. They went hard on Yamamoto, didn't get him, and then just kind of gave up.
The way I look at the offseason here is I think I understand what they did is that they sort of looked at it here as, hey, we gave big money to a bunch of older free agents. It didn't work. We're not going to do that again. Like, we're not going to go overpay for a mediocre free agent class. Like, we'll go get guys on 1-year deals. Like, backstop, if we happen to be in contention, great. We'll go ahead the deadline. If not, we'll sell off again. And then we'll go for next winter and save our bucks in a bigger class.
Okay. I see it. But why go so hard after Yamamoto then? Just
because
generational talent?
Generational. Right? How often do you get a potential 25-year-old ace hitting the market?
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah. That's
you
the
don't.
kind of thing you throw your money at.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think
we'll see if they do it next year, because next year you got a potential 26-year-old best left-handed hitter in the game hitting free agency. So we'll see if they go after him.
I'm sure he'll be getting a phone call.
I'm sure he will. And that'll be the real test for Hal Steinbrenner. We'll see if he's really turned into his father or not.
Yeah, we will see here, Phil. Thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Looking forward to the season.